I watched you headlock this kid from Rollins in Douglas one time, and I was like, oh, like feet over the head, like, and it was just quick and snappy.
Yeah.
Right? And like everybody knew it was coming, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody knew your headlock was coming.
Yeah.
But they didn't know when, and they just couldn't stop it because it would just be like, boom, boom, done.
Yeah.
Right? And then you just took this kid and like, I remember me and Bronson were sitting there and we were watching where we were like, and we looked at each other like, whoa.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Wrestle Her. I am Jessica Brenton, your host, and on this podcast we are going to be talking about all things wrestling from a girl's perspective. Today I have Army vet, D2 wrestler, Windy City head wrestling coach, husband, and girl dad, Phillip Young, joining us today. So thank you for joining us, Phil.
Thanks for having me here, Jess. Thanks for asking me to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's see. I just turned 33. I got a 19-month-old daughter, another son on the way.
You do?
Yeah, just found out another son on the way. Yeah. I think this will be out after the announcement, so
Yeah.
hopefully that's good.
Fingers crossed.
I'm married to my college sweetheart, Abby. We met in Pueblo, Colorado, where I went to college. That's where I wrestled at for the Thunderwolves. Oh. I went there after the Army. So I was in the Army as a combat engineer for 4 years, a little under 4 years. Deployed to Iraq and stuff. When I came home from Iraq, I did a wrestling tournament on Fort Bragg, and I won it. And it kind of reignited my passion to wrestle again. And so I just decided when my ETS date came around, it's my time to get out of the Army, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get out of the Army and go wrestle. You know, so yeah. I called around, or I went to a few colleges like UNC Pembroke and stuff, and talked to the coach, and a lot of the responses that I got was like, hey, you've been out of the game for so long, you can come like try out, but like I can't guarantee. I was like, I just want to walk on. And I don't know, some of the coaches seemed opposed to that. Mm-hmm. And so I was talking to my buddy Jesse Hillhouse, who's a Division II national champion from Pueblo. We all grew up together, you know, Jesse. Mm-hmm. And he was like, hey, yeah, come out here and wrestle for me, or with me, you know, I'll talk to the coach and stuff. And so like the next day, Dax Charles called me. He's the head coach up there, and he was like, hey, so you're gonna come, thinking about coming to wrestle, da-da-da. And we talked about that, and I was like, yeah, so like, what do you want me to do? He's like, yeah, just come. I was like, I just need to be there, you know? And he was like, yeah, just show up, dude. And I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, I already ordered all your locker stuff. I figured you were coming. So I was like, oh man, that's awesome. Like, made me feel real wanted. So yeah,
that's awesome.
So that's, I mean, how I've got to where I'm at now in the last 10 years or so. So prior to that, you know, my wrestling journey started in Belle Fourche, South Dakota. I was like 4 years old. I came home one day from, I went to like this preschool kindergarten thing. Mm-hmm. And there were flyers at the school for the wrestling club. And I was like, hey, I want to wrestle. And they put me in wrestling. I had to, my dad made me practice for 2 years before he let me compete, which I think actually served me very well. Yeah. But then wrestling for me became like my escape. I didn't grow up in a great household. It was just not great.
Yeah.
And so it became a way for me to escape kind of that stuff, kind of learn how to defend myself. And so I fell in love with it, fell in love with the gruelingness and the grinding, and the physicality of it. First, I think, and then I fell in love with the people that you meet. Right, which kind of kept me in it when I felt kind of defeated at times in my life, you know. And then I moved to Casper in like 2000 and wrestled at CY Junior High. That's where I met your brother, Briston, and you, you know. We all wrestled together, CY, NC, and then after NC, I had plans to go wrestle at Mesa State, which is now Colorado Mesa. And I signed my letter of intent, went down there. We were talking money. I couldn't afford to go there with what they were willing to give me. And so I kind of put my wrestling on hold. And it was on hold from that time up until I wrestled that tournament in the Army.
Awesome.
So it was like 4 years.
It's quite the wrestling story you have. I like it. I like how you said that wrestling was an outlet. I think that a lot of people feel that way. It's just a good stress reliever. You can just get anything out that you need to. You're having a bad day, you're having a good day, anything, you can just go wrestle and, you know, your day gets a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I like that you said that.
Yeah. With everyone, like I've worked in like juvenile facilities, and I work with kids, and even just in my everyday life, just interaction with kids. I've always recommended wrestling because of that, because there's nothing like it. Like, you can go run, you can go play football, go whatever, but there's nothing like just like a one-on-one combat scenario with somebody to relieve some stress.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yep. Nothing's planned.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
is just reaction, and you got to do what you got to do to not get put on your back.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. So tell me about your wrestling experience when you had me on your team. I was the only girl that was on the boys wrestling team. Was that any different for you to have a girl on your team, or how did you see those boys treat me compared to how they would treat the other boys in the room?
Yeah, you know, I think for me, having you on the team was just kind of, it was like whatever, because you were always kind of like more of a little sister to me that we used to beat up on anyway.
Right.
So I was like, now we just get to do it in the room, you know? Like, so it wasn't any really different, like, for me, I guess. And except for the time he threw me on my back.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
Headlock City, he tossed me right on my back.
I'm glad everybody saw it.
But, you know, I definitely seen it a lot. You know, you had the family that was from Green River that refused to wrestle you all the time. Great kids, you know, good family, like wholehearted kids, but they wouldn't wrestle you, and they were returning state champions, multiple time state champions, and they drew you first round of the state tournament defending a state title, and he opted to forfeit to you and not even defend the state title and things like that. So that's not something that I would have ever done or agreed with, but I get why they would do that,
right.
Knowing this family and stuff like that. They're great. I mean, they're great people, high morals and stuff, and that was just something that was for them. But yeah, I mean, you saw it, I mean, everywhere. You've seen other coaches, you've seen the other wrestlers in the room, kids that would refuse to wrestle you. You know, and we still have that, like, and that's one of my biggest rules in Windy City is I hate hearing that. That stuff always boiled my blood, and I guess when you look back at it, it was probably because, you know, we have that relationship that we have, and like, you know, I'm family friends with your whole family. I know them all. I watched your little brothers grow up since they were babies, you know. And so to hear when people would do that to you, I took that home like personally, you know. You remember the incident at J-Rob?
Oh yeah.
Me and Briston broke that guy's nose
for talking to me,
for flirting with you. You know, so when I would hear stuff like that, it would boil my blood, and honestly, it would make me want to pick on those guys more. You know, as like one of the better kids in the room at the time, like it'd make me want to take them into the back of the room and tear them up a little bit. And so I don't. That's like one of my biggest rules on my club team is, I don't ever want to hear you say I don't want to wrestle you because you're a girl. Like, that's fast track off the team. You know. But yeah, you see it. You saw it a lot. You know, the things that you've done for the sport, you don't see it as much, especially in Wyoming, I don't think anymore. These girls are tough, dude.
Yeah, you got some tough girls.
You know, so you don't see that as much anymore. And I think you were the start of that. Like, you were headlocking fools left and right and left, and, you know, feet overhead all the time. And so I think that really people were like, holy crap, girls can do this, you know. Obviously, I think Sarah Tolan's like the pioneer of women's wrestling. I think you're more our generation, Sarah Tolan, 100%. Like, and you've grown it to levels that I think Sarah, if she was, you know, still with us, she would have be right there next to you, you know, this whole way. But just what you've done and the stuff that you endured as a kid, and like you're just like, you never let it make you lose your love for the sport.
Yeah.
You know, I think is something special too. But yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Have you ever had to wrestle a girl?
Yeah, I've had not very many. I'm trying to think, like Rocky Mountain Nationals. Once I wrestled a girl. I don't think I ever
Do you feel any
wrestled.
different wrestling those girls compared to me? Obviously, because you don't have a relationship with them.
Those girls, no. I think it's just business. It's all business. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just business. You know, same thing as take them down, pin them.
Yeah.
You know, I try not to disrespect that. I guess that would be something. I wouldn't disrespect somebody like that I would if it was like my rival or somebody that I always heard like talking smack or something like that. You know, that was like, okay, you need to learn. Yeah. Or something like that. You know, and that's one of the things that's so much different about girls and boys. Right? Is like girls don't really do that.
Yeah.
Like they don't. I don't know. Girls don't really talk a whole lot of smack.
Yeah. There's occasions. There's definitely occasions that they do. But yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me growing up anyways was, people not wanting to wrestle me, saying that it was disrespectful to wrestle a girl because you're supposed to treat girls with respect. And from my perspective, I thought it was disrespectful to not get toe-to-toe with me on that line because I'm here to wrestle.
100%. I totally agree. It's more disrespectful not to wrestle you. Yeah. And treat you like you're not my equal.
Yeah, even if you kick my butt up and down that mat, pin me in 4 seconds, showing up to that line was respecting me in my eyes.
100%.
So I love that you have that role in your club for all your boys and stuff in there. Thinking about coaching wise for girls and boys, is there any difference coaching wise that you do for girls and do differently for boys?
No, I don't. Yeah, like I said, it's business for me. You're a wrestler to me. You're not a boy or a girl, right? The only time that really comes into mind is when we're weighing kids in, and I'm like, are you doing both brackets? Right. Girls and boys? Yeah. Okay, that's the only time that really clicks to me, I guess. But like as far as coaching them, I love coaching the girls, I think, more. Yeah. There's like less ego. They're so willing to learn, and they're eager to learn all the time. Like doesn't matter like what level they are. You know, it doesn't matter like really if they know you or not. Like for example, when we went to Colorado Springs, right, and it was my first time coaching those girls, and you got girls like that I had never coached before, like Brindley Green, right? Just like, hey, what do you want me to do? I'm like, okay, just do this. You know?
So coachable.
And they'll wrestle how you feel is like they're more willing, I guess. You know, some kids will do it, or boys will do it. Yeah. But a lot of boys, I don't know, they have their own style, and they kind of just do whatever. Girls, like they'll look to you a lot more and like trying to listen to you a lot more, you know. And I don't know. I don't know if that's just like a girl thing or it's just the kids that I coach. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I mean, there were some girls like that. I remember I'm not going to dime her out, but she's one of your girls. She was a mad leg rider. And I was like, you're not doing good at it. Just stop doing it. Yeah. And she dead set on riding legs. Yeah. And that just reminded me of like, I'm like, God, you're just like all the boys that I coach. You just want to do whatever you want. Like. Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing to have less experienced wrestlers, which a lot of these girls are, because they can be coachable and they aren't set in their ways and they aren't stuck in a mindset of, oh, I have this move that works for me. I don't need to listen to my coach. So I think that is a thing that I like about coaching girls is a lot of them are newer.
Or especially like a first time coach, like I was saying, I had never coached any of those girls before, but I knew that they knew basic moves, you know, and some of them little advanced moves, and they were willing to go out there and give it a try, even if it's not something that they would typically do in their style. Yeah. You know, and so, you know, and so that was cool. It's just, you know, like, hey, that makes me want to come back and coach these girls more and more and more, right? And I've been trying to jump on a trip with you. It's just never really works out like that. But
yeah, that was a good trip for sure. We coached in Colorado Springs. We had our national teams there. So thinking about that, it was an individual tournament and a dual tournament. What would you say were some takeaways from that tournament?
It was it was an honor to be a part of that because that was the first ever Wyoming girls dual teams. Yeah. Right. And so it was an honor to be a part of that. And so that was really cool. Your team over there got the first ever dual win for a Wyoming women's dual team.
Against Tennessee.
Yeah. Hey, so that was really cool. Like the history, I tried to let those girls know, up front, my little pregame speeches I was giving them the whole time was focused around, hey, you guys are making history. You guys, you're the first, right? Trying to get them to rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
And a lot of those girls did. I mean, we had tons of All-Americans.
Yeah.
And you guys won the duel, one of the duels and stuff. We almost beat it. I think it was an Iowa team. We lost by like a match or something. And that was like as close as we got. But I mean, those girls put their heart and soul into it, and it didn't matter like if it was our first duel or our fourth duel. Energy was the same.
Yeah.
We got beat 3 times before that, but the energy on that fourth duel was the same as if we were still going into that first duel.
Yeah.
And like that was great to see. Like they were just like, hey, we're happy to be here, dude.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big thing I think with some of the older girls. I think they understand that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I didn't get this when I was yay high, and so I'm just happy to be here. And so I think they're just like, hey, that sucked. Brush it off. Let's go to the next one because this is still a fun experience.
Yeah.
No expectations,
Yeah, that was the first dual teams that we've had. And honestly, that gave me a love for dual tournaments because that was so much fun. All those girls, every single girl was on the mat side screaming their heads off for their teammates. And there's pictures of them just going crazy, jumping up in the air after we get a pin or we score a point, or they would just lose their minds on the sidelines. They probably couldn't even hear us coaching from the mat because the team was going so crazy on the sidelines. So that was a really fun experience. And I know those girls that went on that trip, they every single tournament that we go to, they're like, is Coach Phil coming? Is Coach Young going to be there? So I think they really enjoyed you being there for sure.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun, and like you were saying, and even though we had the 4 duels and we went 0-4, it was still a cool experience, like for those girls, because they had no idea like what was about to happen.
Yeah,
because they don't duel.
Yeah, they've only been in individual tournaments before.
Oh yeah, and so you have a whole girls and they're like, oh heck yeah, now we get to do this. Yes.
And it's a lot more of a team bonding thing too.
Way more
Everybody gets more invested in each other and knows more about each other, and they go over off into the side and say, hey, like I saw this is what you need to do next time. Like you did a great match, and they all are high-fiving each other. And
you get the cool lineups. And slap hands, run down the lineup and stuff. Yeah, like that's such a cool experience and stuff. And these girls all get to do it. Yeah,
that definitely made me want to do a lot more dual tournaments for sure with these girls. So I'm definitely excited to be adding more to our national seasons coming up.
God, you do so much.
Yeah, for sure. So thinking about what's happened this last year with the girls being sanctioned and getting their own division in the high schools, what are some things that you saw that were good, and what are some things that you saw that you would like to see in the next seasons coming?
So the sanctioning, I think is great. I love the sanctioning. I've told you that probably 1,000 times. Huge champion for women's wrestling. I think it's past time. This should have been years and years and years ago, and we'd be well established, but we'll take what we can get. We've got it now, and so it should be its own season. Like it should be its own separate. They should probably run it like they do the girls and the boys basketball teams. Like let them do their own things. Same season. They can figure it out. One of the things I'd like to see more of is just it being taken more seriously. Yeah. I think they did a really good job at Ronthon. I heard at the Ronthon
was really good.
The Ronthon was really good. Same. I love that they gave them the same belts. That's how it all should be. If you're gonna separate them, and you should separate them. Yeah. And now that it's growing more, hopefully they will separate them to their own seasons. Like boys and girls basketball. It should be. it should be the same like that.
Yeah, I know for at least NC and Kelly Walsh next year, they're both going to be separate. They're going to have their separate practices. They're hiring different coaching staff, a girls head coach and a boys head coach, and giving them each assistance. And then they're giving them their own travel and their own tournament schedule. So
Perfect.
girls can go to places like Utah to go to bigger tournaments and stuff like that. So I'm really happy to see that. Something that I think a lot of the cities weren't ready for was just to have those girls, because they kind of lumped them into, the back of the tournament, and they didn't wrestle till like 4 p.m. when they weighed in at 7 a.m. and they wrestled back to back to back. So that's something that I hope going into these bigger tournaments.
Were they doing 2 days, like 2-day tournaments? So, geez, that would stink.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't get to eat all day because you're not wrestling all day.
Yeah.
Because you still got to make weight for day 2. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them are 2 days, some of them are 1 day, but yeah, that kind of gave them.
Terrible.
And then sometimes they didn't get medals. Sometimes, they just wrestled, like I said, back to back, which they should get a 45-minute wait time, like the boys do.
Duels should be set up the same. There should be, if you're going to separate it out, you got a girls varsity, boys varsity. If the boys do one thing, girls should do the other, or do the same, should do the exact same thing.
Yep, I agree.
It should all be, everything should be treated the same. I heard really good things about the Ronthon, and state was pretty nice.
It definitely was a good season, good starting point. Obviously there's room for growth. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the upcoming seasons for sure with it.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited, especially, with the little girl on the way. That, cross my fingers, I hope she wants to wrestle. I'm not going to force her to wrestle. I hope she wants to, but if not, then that's fine, as long as she doesn't play basketball.
Yeah.
So
definitely be teaching her some wrestling moves in the living room, and at least introducing her to the sport.
Yeah.
I'll come over and wrestle with her.
Yeah, and it's going to be really cool too. I think one of the cool things I'm really excited about is I've been in the game long enough that I'm going to get to see both sides of it. I'm going to have to see you, right? And I get a pretty up close seat to all the work that you're putting in and things like that. So it'll be fun for me to be able to tell, my daughter how Wyoming's wrestling went from nothing, from Jessica Brenton being the only girl on the team to now we have our own full sport. And Jessica was like a big part of that, and I mean, you've met her, you've met my daughter and stuff, but it'll be really cool, I think, when she's older and things like that, to be able to do that with her and be able to tell that if she chooses to wrestle. I think that would be a really cool story for her. But I'm really appreciative of all the work that you've put in, all those work that those girls put in, when it was the nitty gritty work, and now it's starting to get nice and things like that, and sanctionings are coming along and individual sports are coming along, and colleges now, are offering, Iowa starts their program this year. Yeah. Colorado Mesa has their program this year. Shout out Maggie Smith.
Yeah.
But yeah, and to see, to be able to see all that has been phenomenal. And so I'm really thankful for you guys and all the work that all you girls out there have done and you've done. And, my daughter wouldn't get the opportunities that she's going to be afforded, and they're just going to seem like second nature to her. You know what I mean? Because by the time she gets up there, it's going to be well established. The work's going to be done. You just got to keep greasing the wheel at that point.
Right.
And so for her to have that is just like, oh, that's just second nature to me. That's an option for me as a girl.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Which is something that, I mean, the main reason I do what I do is so they can have these opportunities, so they didn't have to go through what I went through growing up. Because, I mean, I literally got strong hate from a lot of people.
What was that like for you?
I mean, like you said, I just thought it was normal. That was my normal day to,
Did you ever get prepped or anything like for that? Like, did anyone ever tell you that, like, people are going to hate you for this.
No. I knew it was a boys' sport. I knew that it was a man's world, and I just wanted to wrestle, man. And my favorite part was making the boys cry, so I knew that they were going to be mad at me.
Literally making them cry.
Yeah. So, nobody prepped me for any of that, so.
I watched you headlock this kid from Rollins in Douglas one time, and I was like, oh. Like, feet over the head, like, and it was just quick and snappy.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, everybody knew it was coming, dude. Yeah. Everybody knew your headlock was coming.
Yeah.
But they didn't know when, and they just couldn't stop it, because it would just be like, boom, boom, done.
Yeah.
Right. And then you just took this kid and like, I remember me and Bronson were sitting there and we were watching we were like, and we looked at each other like, whoa. It was sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Making them cry. Yeah, for sure.
They would always cry, or, their dads would yell at them, tell them that they suck because they lost to a girl, and like, Dad, but she was really strong. Then I had like moms come up to me and yell at me for beating their kid and tell me that I shouldn't be here, and a lot of hate. So I'm glad that these girls don't have to deal with that, and
me
they
too.
can just move forward with the sport and enjoy it to its full capacity and enjoy doing what they love to do, because wrestling is a great sport. So
yeah, nothing like it. Honestly, I mean, I don't know, people say that all the time, but you have to do it to understand.
Absolutely. At least give it a try, and this gives them the opportunity to do that. So anything else you'd like to add before we close out?
No, I think that's it, unless you got anything else you need from me or anything like that.
If there was a little girl watching right now wanting to wrestle, what would you tell her?
Do it. Wrestle both brackets.
Yeah.
Just and start when you're little, wrestle both brackets, and just whoop on those boys, and just show them for what for, like, But I mean, and there's going to be a point where you experience it where you keep wrestling and the body takes over. You know what I mean? And like the boys are just so much stronger than you. Yeah. You might be better, but but do it when you're young. Start it. There's never a bad time to start, and don't be afraid to enter the man's world, because it's not the man's world.
Not for the boys anymore.
No, not just for the boys anymore.
Yeah.
So do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Phil.
Of course.
It was a pleasure to have you on the show. If you ever want to come back on, talk about anything else, have your daughter on later on in life, definitely reach out to me.
Maybe.
And thank you guys all so much for joining our podcast. We will see you next week.
I can't accept the loss, I'm hard-headed. There's a little bit of madness to my method. Many falling off that fine line that I'm treading. I risk anything to be great, and I'm not letting nobody rob me of my victory. Number one, that's what I'm meant to be. When by any means, only thing that makes sense to me, I can make nice or make history.